You understand all the arguments inside out, back to front. You know all of the pseudo force space arguments. You know all the mass attracting mass arguments. You know all of the incoherent dielectric acceleration arguments and the ether arguments and the upward acceleration Earth arguments. Once you've got all of that under your belt, you then get to a point you go, wow, that was a lot of education for no benefit beyond understanding more than I already did, which was implicit, that we're not held to the side of a spinning water ball. What's that? You still want me to argue about it? You're still demanding that I come up with explanations for you? No, life's too short. No, I'm not doing it. What's that? You still need an explanation for all things going down? Just do it a fourth time. They don't. What's it?
About the demonstrate, are you asking me specifically about me using the term structural support?
No, I'm asking about the practical application and how this will have a bearing on my life. If there wasn't a demonstration being made, be it the increase in weight in a vacuum, or the claim of the opposite, or the relative density disequilibrium of an egg in an experiment to show that it's relative to the medium and the density thereof. Upon doing that, where's it practically useful for me? It debunks gravity. Once that's been achieved, where's there a use?
Because we want to know why things do what they do.
The relative density disequilibrium discussion that we're having, if you juxtapose that with the question of why the sky is blue, but bear in mind that there is no contentious claim from the globe side that necessitates the sky to be blue for part of their claim to work. Would you say that, given that it's not contentious on the globe side, and it's still just a mystery in the same way as the second order effect of entropy, it's just a mystery until you explain it. But once you have, it becomes a folly. And the sky, nobody's arguing about why it's blue, because it doesn't necessitate a globe claim to keep you on the side of a spinning water ball. Therefore, no one's got any real interest in it.
Well, I understand your question. We're not arguing about why the sky is blue, because the sky being blue is not a globe claim that we get thrown at us all the time.
Precisely.
But we also can't find that out as easily.
No. You said it's not. It's too difficult to find out what the sky is blue. No, I postulate that given that I spent 18 months listening to Arwin and Sleeping Warrior argue back and forth about this, I've seen dozens and dozens of people trying to claim they've got experiments in various different aspects of various different claims, some outlandish like the Earth moving up or spinning, some not so, in the case of just explaining relative density disequilibrium with no positive assertion to need backing when that's done. But I don't agree that that period of time, which is lengthy, to get to the point where I can summarize it with just a few short words, has any practical use. I just don't see that was needed or easy, and it would have been just as arduous to explain why the sky was blue. And there's a good chance that had that have been in the forefront of our mind because globers needed it to be, because they needed the false dichotomy to argue against us with, then we'd be all talking about why the sky was blue and have dedicated our time to it. The only reason we have, and for what? That's what I'm getting at. For what? All of the arguments between Arwin and Sleeping Warrior were only useful to debunk the globe's necessity to have a force holding them to a spinning water ball. Seems a bit suspicious that Dell's suddenly talking about upward rising Earth bringing the positive assertion to our doorstep as flat earthers. Not that I'm claiming anything nefarious from Dell, I just think he's making an outlandish claim about Earth moving, and it's equally as outlandish as the Earth spinning. Well, isn't that useful for the people who necessitate a force holding them to a ball?
The bit that we're missing is that this topic about the egg and the density of the object and the medium and all that because that's not part of their narrative, it really excludes them from it, because it's got nothing to do with them. They believe that the egg moves because of gravity and buoyancy, right? One's acting on the medium, one's acting on the egg, and so on. But when we point out that it's got nothing to do with that and it's actually something else, it's just the relationship between the medium and the object, then they're excluded from it. So like the benefit of talking about it is really within our own circles, so that people that are in our own circles can expand their own mind and go, well, why does it do that? And then you explain to them what, and then they go, oh, right, yeah. So it's beneficial for our own side to answer those awkward questions that they don't really know the answer to.
Yeah,
It's beneficial to expand our knowledge.
I agree. This is why, as I said earlier, I'm not going to stop you guys from giving concise, detailed explanations that do demonstrate that we do understand this, do have a contrapositive claim to make if we chose to do so, and we could even back that claim that isn't necessary with scientific validity. I don't disagree with it. I allow it. I'm not saying it's like my permission is granted for you to talk about this. I'm not saying it in that way. I'm just saying it is still useful for you, the audience, who are listening to this and hopefully absorbing some of the information, to understand everything that's been gone through, all of the arguments from relative density disequilibrium, all of the debunkings of pseudo-4 space and Newtonian mass attracting mass. They're all useful, but there does come a point where my point takes precedent over all of it. This is folly for us. Can we just move on to why the sky's blue? I'm more interested in that than why some things move down, some things move up, some things remain neutral. As interesting as it is, I'm lying, it's not. It's not in the slightest been interesting to me. Once you understand the arguments, I'm not saying don't learn the arguments. I'm not saying don't figure out what relative density is. I'm not saying don't look into upward rising Earth or spinning Earth or debunking Coriolis effect. I'm not saying any of those things. What I am saying is, once you understand how the positive claim on the globe side fails, recognise that you don't have any need to investigate any further, unless you find a practical application for it, unless you find it useful, in other words. Beyond that, it's a folly. If you don't know what a folly is, look it up.
It's been used practically forever, since Archimedes' time. They've used density and the differentials between density in engineering and other things. So it's not as if there's no practical use for it. Like this knowledge has helped them construct things and do things and float boats. Like,
I'm not disputing that, but I'm not saying it doesn't have a practical application. But in the same way, if we discuss the tensile strength of bridge structures and their steels, would that be useful to us now in the debate about the nature of Earth? I think not. Oh, but if the globe had a positive claim about tensile strength, then you can be damn sure we'd be arguing our strawman position that we didn't need to be making defence of. It's like, what the hell? I need to illustrate this. Sorry, Brian. Go ahead.
You just contradicted yourself, Nathan, when you said the nature of Earth. That is what we're trying to figure out. The nature of things, how it works. Because we were fed a narrative that wasn't true.
Yeah, but now we know. So I'm saying, beyond having an outrageous claim that Earth's rising up to necessitate a force of down always being effect, which isn't true, we don't have anything further to do with this. If someone comes up and says, well, why is all things going down? Beyond me saying they don't. Well, how do you explain? Explain what? It. What's it? All things going down. They don't. That's it. That's the end of the discussion for me. And when they're like, well, I need to understand why all things tend to the ground. I'll say it one more time. They don't.
Okay, but what about when you say helium balloon, right? And they say, oh, that's buoyancy caused by gravity. That's a completely false statement from that person.
I say
buoyancy has nothing to do with their belief.
I say what? Gas go down, go boom boom. The pools of the gases forcing the helium balloon up. I just debunked their overcome of my statement. And their overcome is to reassert their original position that I've already overcome. So who cares? I still don't have to make any claims about relative density disequilibrium or explain it in any way, shape or form. It's not my burden. I'm a lazy man. I don't want to have these arguments. Once I've debunked gravity, I couldn't care less anymore. Yeah, there might be something in a future job that's really useful for me to know this, but it seems unlikely, I've got to be honest.
Okay, I understand your position. You're just going to just purely debunk their position and not give them anything in any way, shape, or form of an explanation that you don't feel you have to give.
Why should I?
Then can't argue with you.
Why should I? Why is the onus on me? Why is it suddenly my burden? Am I being paid to investigate this for them on their behalf because they've suddenly lost their paradigm that had kept them to the side of a ball? Oh well, you're not on the side of a ball. Do you understand and recognise that? Are you going to thank me for telling you? And no, you just want an alternative so you can debunk that. Sod that.
People want answers, Nathan.
What about? That's what I'm getting to. What about? Very quickly, sorry, Chocolate. What about Eleanor and Clover. What about them? You're going to want to be able to answer some of their questions. You won't be able, as a father, I don't think you're going to be able to go, I don't know, to everything. With them, because that's not going to be a debate situation.
That's a totally unreasonable juxtaposition. You're juxtaposing, if it came to educating my daughters on tensile strengths of the materials used in bridges, then that might be a lesson that they get one day. But it isn't going to be related to the subject matter of the nature of Earth. It isn't going to be necessarily in a geography lesson. You know what I'm saying? In other words, just because it is practically applied in the world that we live in, doesn't mean it has any point in our discussion. And it's not coming up when it comes to the nature of the sky being blue, because there isn't a contrapositive that's needed to be defended and much easier to have us having a position on to argue against.
Well, if you're just, okay, you're talking purely within the arena. What practical use have you got for telling someone about relative density within the arena?
Yes.
At this stage, I can understand. Fair enough, I can understand that. But it is good to have some answer if there is an answer there that is provable.
Yep. I'm saying absolutely. Let me just agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely correct. Number one, the only way you can get to the same attitude that I'm taking is to say you understand all the arguments inside out, back to front. You know all of the pseudo force space arguments. You know all the mass attracting mass arguments. You know all of the incoherent dielectric acceleration arguments and the ether arguments and the upward acceleration Earth arguments. Once you've got all of that under your belt, you then get to a point you go, wow, that was a lot of education for no benefit beyond understanding more than I already did, which was implicit, that we're not held to the side of a spinning water ball. What's that? You still want me to argue about it? You're still demanding that I come up with explanations for you? No, I life's too short. No, I'm not doing it. What's that? You still need an explanation for all things going down? Just do it a fourth time. They don't.
I get you, Nathan. I get you. It's almost like I get you, Nathan. It's almost like the Globers, they come to us like the students. And it's almost like they don't. It's almost like they're trying to do a gotcha question, but we need to waste our time with it because it's already all been debunked. I mean,
exactly.
Are you coming to me because you want to learn?
How do they sucker you into that? I'm just here to learn. What's your alternative position? You're here to learn? Oh, is this a course I'm offering? Pay me. Then you'll have some gratitude for the information. Then it won't just be you trying to contradict the information. If you're paying for it, you'll be grateful for it. Like all the numpties that pay out thousands to universities to learn about astronomy or astrophysics. Yeah, well, they take it all as read because it's printed in the books that they're paid for. Oh, okay, you want my information? Give me money for it. Because that's all you value.
Nathan, I don't think
that's all they value.
I don't think you should refer to yourself as a lazy man. What you're doing is quite obvious. They are the lazy one. Let me explain. You just debunked something that was a lie. Now they want to know what it is. You say, have at it, come back with me with your research.